One of the most interesting things I think about the blues and country music and any of these American roots styles is the alternation between major and minor sounds. Might sound a little academic, but it's really freaking cool, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here. If you're just getting into improvising, this would be a good way to bridge the differences between playing blues music versus playing country music, or playing other types of American roots music where you're taking it outside of the standard European sounds and you're adding these different elements like a blues scale or, you know, altered chords. Let's get into it. If I'm playing a 12-bar blues, for instance, and we're thinking in a blues context, I have an A7 for 4 bars. Very cool, and most people would agree that you can play a major sound as well as a minor sound on top of that A7 chord. And in fact, some blues players and country players will switch between those two sounds phrase by phrase, so it sounds like a little conversation. I'm just talking about those first 4 bars of a 12-bar blues. Okay, so as soon as I got to the 4 chord, I started to think minor stuff, or I started to think about the 4 chord. Let's come back to that. If you're going to play a blues sound, you got to think about that a dominant 7th chord, A7, it's a major triad with a flat 7 or a minor 7th if you're thinking in those terms. And a lot of times the blues sound incorporates that chord with also a minor 3rd. So you're having the major 3rd and the minor 3rd at the same time. Kind of like a Jimi Hendrix sharp 9 chord. That's happening at the same time. So the sound is really dissonant. That's what gives blues and rock and roll its really aggressive and dissonant sound. It's a wild sound and it's amazing. You can play off of that by doing phrase by phrase. Something that's very useful when you're playing blues or country is to, if you're not savvy on playing off of each chord, you can think to yourself, well, no matter what, I'm going to play minor phrases on the 4 chord. If you're looking at the notes of the chord, the A7 chord, you can really see that. Let me just look in one position. In one position, if I was going to look at the 4 chords of a blues, A7, D7, and E7, the 3rd and the 7th are very close together. So that's the 3rd and the 7th of the A chord, and then the 3rd and the 7th of the D chord, the 4 chord, are right here. And then I go back, and then the 5 chord, the 3rd and the 7th are right here. And I'm just talking about on 2 strings in this position. There's other places you could do it. Clearly, you could play 3 and 7 there. That's the 4 chord. That's the 5 chord, or that's the 5 chord there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if you want to play off the changes and you want to make melodies that really access what's happening with the chords, you can find little fragments of the chords. You can find the 3rd and the 7th. Let's just look at this blues in this 5th position here, if I'm here. Mostly because people are comfortable with this A minor pentatonic scale, or they're used to playing these kind of bar chords. 3rd, 7th, that's the 1 chord. That's the 3rd and the 7th of the 4 chord. So just by moving down a half step, I have the main notes, the magnetic notes of the 4 chord, just by moving down a half step. If I move it up a half step, I have the main notes, the 3rd and the 7th of the 5 chord. We could look at it like, for instance, the A7, this 3rd becomes the 7th of the 4 chord. Don't worry about that. Just as an exercise, you can look at these notes and make your solo based on those. You'll have some incredible phrases based on that. Check it out. I'm going to use only minor pentatonic but I'm going to land on the 3rd and the 7th of each chord. So I'll go through one time and just play the 3rd and 7th, and then the next time it comes back around, I will play a phrase that lands on one of those. Here we go. Here's A. And then D7. 4 chord. Back to the 1. Only the 3rd and 7th of each of these chords. Alright, E7 for my 5 chord. Here's my 4 chord. Back to 1. Okay, so if I wanted to solo, wacky, but it totally outlines what's happening. Minor pentatonic, landing on the 3rd and the 7th. Minor pentatonic again. Doing that really helps me identify some target notes there. You don't have to think about a whole arpeggio, like some jazz guys would be like, you need to learn the dominant 7th arpeggio or the dominant 9 arpeggio in every position and switch. That would be a great exercise, but this will get you playing music faster. Let's look at playing only minor and major sounds on top of this blues. I'm going to keep it pretty pentatonic if that's your level. Let's look at playing just a couple of ideas with major and minor pentatonics. I urge you to look at the chords and the notes that are in the chords. Simple way to access this stuff is to look at major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. As a little game, using this to make cool phrases. Remember, we're going to use minor pentatonic only on the 4 chord, on the D chord. In fact, so many notes of that minor pentatonic are in a D9 chord. Here we go. So I'm thinking only 2 things, A major pentatonic or A minor pentatonic. It will get you playing the sounds of the chords real quick because those 2 scales have the notes of those chords in them. Watch. Major. Minor sound. Back to major. Now over the E chord I can play either one. I'm going to keep it major. There's the 4 chord, the D. Let's look at it on a country tune. We'll play like Working Man Blues and see how that goes. So the main thing is going to be the rhythm. Let's see what happens. I'm going to still use only those same sounds. Major pentatonic and minor pentatonic. Minor. Back to so I messed up there. On the 4 chord, that's really where you got to play the minor, is on the 4 chord. You can play the major on the 1 chord or the 5 chord. Minor. 5. Minor. Of course, you can play minor of the whole thing. But this exercise is going to be a lot more fun because you're switching sounds. It's like 2 people talking, and you're really incorporating the whole sound of this major chord with a flat 7 and a minor 3rd on top. So a major 3rd and a minor 3rd in the same chord. Sharp 9 is the real name for it. You're accessing that whole sound in the song. I'm going to just play major then minor. I'm not going to just stick in that one pattern, one position anymore. I'm going to just make sure on the 4 chord, I'm going to play minor pentatonic sound, and then on the other chords, I'm going to play major pentatonic sounds. All right. Alright, so that would get you started switching between the 2 sounds, and it would really sound like you're playing off each chord instead of just maybe running a scale over the whole thing. Best case scenario, you start to figure out, okay, that's an A7, maybe I'll learn a dominant scale, aka Mixolydian. Learn those all over. Or you might start thinking, okay, I'm gonna look when it goes to the D chord, I'll play a D major pentatonic. And then you just kind of become obsessed with these really interesting phrases that are happening and really accessing the chords, and it's a lot of fun, especially for rock players who maybe you're getting tired of just kind of feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over again, playing just kind of a scale over, or not just a scale, but like riffs that just kind of make sense over the whole song. And then you want to challenge yourself, and you really love the idea of being able to play off of each chord that's happening. So hit me with a comment, hit me with a question. I'm just going to play it out and keep messing with this. I'm going to stop playing the scales and just think more about the chords now. So there might be some like kind of chord licks and dominant or double stops and stuff like that. But thanks for watching. Go to blackbeltmusician.com if you want some free lessons. Got some free stuff up there. Love to connect with you online, guys. Thanks.